Full disclosure, my husband's a retired police officer. He was the deputy superintendent in Cambridge when we first met. And when we first got married, we used to live Law and Order, because if there was a homicide in Cambridge, his pager would go off and mine would go off, because I was the DA. A couple of thoughts. You know, there was an important reason for the Quinn bill, because we had high school graduates, maybe not that well trained. We'd seen an increase in constitutional violations. So there was an effort to say, we want a civilian police force that's well educated, that is going to be able to do this important job of community policing. As they moved toward that, and it became a supplement in a way to a way for people to get additional education. I think in general you probably have better educated police departments, but you know, let's look at Ferguson, and let's look at some of the things that people are complaining about. As budgets have been cut, Quinn bill is cut in Massachusetts, budgets are cut. We've lost money in cities and towns because of the foreclosure crisis, so budgets for teachers and police and fire have been cut. You know, that has an impact over a period of time in terms of who goes on a police department, what kind of training they have, how many of them are there, and what happens in a community when you're not able to do the appropriate training and get diversity on your department and pay people adequately. We know the Quinn bill was as much a response to undertrained and possibly police that are, you know, susceptible to corruption because they don't make enough money. There are lots of reasons why we should have a well-trained, diverse, and I've seen them as a DA, and I've seen them as, you know, my husband graduated from college, his father was a fire captain, his mother was a teacher. They were hoping he would go become an insurance, you know, adjuster somewhere and have a nice, safe desk job, and he said, no, I want to be a police officer. I'd like to see more men and women saying policing, community policing is something that's really important. And one way we could do that, I think, is looking at providing pathways for people, particularly in some of our cities, maybe where we haven't invested in educational training, but through getting a college degree, where there is, you know, lower tuition or loan forgiveness. And I would see that for public service jobs that would provide openings for people who haven't necessarily thought about those careers, but it's important to have them in all of our communities, and would also guarantee a level of appropriate training. You know, police that aren't trained and know constitutional rights are more likely to be involved in what we saw in the 60s and 70s. You know, we have a state police, but then we have 351 different police departments. In some places you call it there's an answering machine, but I know there's been a huge drop-off in the ongoing training of police just because budgets have been cut. We have a variety of academies around the state that work in different ways for incoming police officers, but I feel personally that that's a good investment. And the state should be, yes, I'm not trying to avert the question, the state should be investing more in helping the cities and towns make sure they can maintain the appropriate and well-trained police departments. There are all kinds of, everybody is very concerned, particularly in a down economy, on the unfunded liabilities, Quinn bill, pensions, all of those things, which is one of the reasons why. And I'm happy to look at that particular issue if there's a way to address that city by city, see what those numbers look like. I don't know exactly what we would do, but you know, the underlying issue is what are we going to invest for a good civil police department.